A mistake? Do you know how much these shoes cost? They cost more than your entire village! You useless, good-for-nothing rat!
Symbol of power, wealth, and hard work. But inside those glass walls, rot was beginning to spread. The founder, Chief Kalu, a man known for his generosity and kindness, had passed away 6 months ago. Since his death, the company had fallen into the hands of Mr. Richard, the acting general manager. This is where the interesting part begins, and I know you want to listen to it. Before we'll start now, take your time to hit that subscribe button and like this story. It's help us and keep this story tale burning. Now let's know about Mr. Richard. Mr. Richard was a man who loved power more than he loved people. He wore suits that cost millions of naira, drove the latest cars, and walked with his nose in the air. To him, the cleaners, the drivers, and the security guards were not human beings. They were dirt on his expensive Italian shoes. He slashed their salaries, increased their working hours, and fired anyone who dared to look him in the eye. But Mr. Richard did not know one thing. Chief Kalu had a son named Daniel. Daniel had lived in London for 15 years. He was quiet, humble, and observant. He didn't care for designer clothes or loud parties. When he received the news of his father's death, he didn't rush back to claim the wealth immediately. He waited, he mourned, and he listened. Heard whispers from his father's old friends that the company was suffering. He heard that the staff were crying in silence. So Daniel made a plan. He wouldn't return as the billionaire heir. He would return as nobody. One rainy Tuesday morning, a black taxi stopped a few streets away from the Kalu Tower. Daniel stepped out. He wasn't wearing his usual tailored suit. Instead, he wore a faded, oversized t-shirt, trousers that were slightly too short, and a pair of worn-out slippers that looked like they had walked the length of the Third Mainland Bridge. He carried a small, torn nylon bag containing a bottle of water and a rag. He walked to the gate of his own company. The security guard, a tired-looking man named Pa Musa, stopped him. "Hey, young man, where are you going?" Pa Musa asked, though his voice wasn't harsh. Daniel humbled himself. "Good morning, Baba. I was sent by the agency. They said there is a vacancy for a cleaner." Pa Musa looked him up and down and sighed. "My son, are you sure you want to work here? This place. It looks shiny on the outside, but inside there is fire. The Oga at the top, Mr. Richard, he is a lion. He eats people like us for breakfast." Daniel smiled sadly. "I have no choice, Baba. I need to eat." Pa Musa shook his head and opened the gate. "Go to the back entrance. Ask for the head of housekeeping. And please keep your head down. Don't let Mr. Richard see you." Daniel thanked him and walked in. His heart beat fast, not from fear, but from the pain of seeing his father's legacy turned into a place of fear. Inside the building, the air conditioning was cold, but the atmosphere was hot with tension. Daniel was directed to the cleaning department. He was given a bucket, a mop, and a uniform that was 2 sizes too big. He didn't complain. He wore it. His first task was to clean the main lobby. As Daniel mopped the marble floor, he watched. He saw staff members rushing around, looking terrified. He saw secretaries whispering in corners, afraid to speak loudly. Suddenly, the elevator dinged. Silence fell over the entire lobby. It was the sound of doom. Mr. Richard stepped out, flanked by 2 bodyguards. He was on a phone call, shouting loudly. "I told you to transfer the 50 million naira to the offshore account. Do I look like I care about the audit? I am the boss here." Daniel paused his mopping, his ears sharpening. 50 million naira? That was company money. Mr. Richard was stealing in broad daylight. As Richard walked past, he stopped abruptly. He looked down at his shoe. A tiny, almost invisible drop of water from Daniel's mop had splashed onto the tip of his glossy black shoe. Richard froze. The entire lobby froze. "You!" Richard roared, pointing at Daniel. "Are you mad? Are you blind?" Daniel stood up, clutching his mop. "I'm sorry, sir. It was a mistake." "A mistake." Richard laughed, a cruel, cold sound. "Do you know how much these shoes cost? They cost more than your entire village. You useless, good-for-nothing rat." Richard stepped closer and kicked the bucket of dirty water. "What?" The soapy water washed all over Daniel's legs and feet. The staff gasped, but no one moved. No one dared to help. "Clean it up," Richard screamed. "Lick it up if you have to. If I see a single drop of water when I return, I will have you arrested for damaging my property." He stormed out of the building, leaving Daniel standing in a puddle of dirty water. Daniel stood there, his fists clenched at his sides. He wasn't angry for himself. He was angry for the hundreds of people who had suffered this treatment every day. He bent down and picked up the bucket. Just then, a soft hand touched his shoulder. I'll help you. Daniel looked up. It was a young lady, probably his age. She wore a simple receptionist uniform, but her eyes were kind. Her name tag read Amara. No, don't worry, Daniel whispered. If he sees you helping me, you'll get in trouble. He is gone, Amara said quietly, grabbing a rag. She knelt on the floor beside him, ignoring her clean uniform, and began wiping the water. He treats everyone like this. Last week, he fired the driver because the car's AC wasn't cold enough. He is a wicked soul. Daniel watched her. In a world of fear, she chose kindness. Why do you stay? He asked. Amara sighed, wringing out the rag. My mother is in the hospital. Kidney issues. This job. The pay is small and sometimes he delays it, but I need every naira. If I leave, my mother dies. Daniel's heart melted. He looked at Amara, really looked at her. She was beautiful not because of makeup or wigs, but because of the light inside her. Thank you, Amara, Daniel said. I won't forget this. Amara smiled, a sad, tired smile. We small people have to look out for each other, because nobody else will. For the next 2 weeks, Daniel lived the life of a cleaner. He cleaned the toilets. He took out the trash. He ate rice and beans in the small canteen with the drivers. And every day he took notes. He found out that Mr. Richard had fired the old accountant, Mr. Okeke, because Mr. Okeke refused to sign fraudulent checks. He found out that Richard had hired his own girlfriend as the head of HR, even though she never came to work. He found out that the company was bleeding money. But he also found out about the good people. He saw how the staff shared their lunch when someone didn't have money. He saw how they prayed together in the morning. And most of all, he saw Amara. Amara became his closest friend. She didn't know he was the billionaire owner. She just knew him as Dan, the clumsy cleaner with the big dreams. One afternoon, during lunch break, Daniel sat on the curb behind the building eating a loaf of bread. Amara came out with 2 packs of food. Dan, she called out. Put that bread away. I bought jollof rice. Daniel looked at her. Amara, you need your money for your mother. Why are you feeding me? Because you look like you need it, she insisted, sitting beside him. Besides, my mother is doing a bit better today. The doctor said if we can pay the deposit for the surgery next week, she has a chance. How much is the deposit? Daniel asked, taking a spoonful of rice. 2 million naira, she whispered, her voice trembling. I have saved only 200,000. I tried to ask Mr. Richard for a loan against my salary, but... She looked away, tears forming in her eyes. He laughed at me. He said the company is not a charity home. Daniel stopped eating. The food felt like stones in his throat. He wanted to tell her right there. I am Daniel Kalu. I have billions. I can write a check right now. But he couldn't. Not yet. He needed to catch Richard in the act. He needed to cut the head off the snake properly. Don't worry, Amara, Daniel said softly. God works in mysterious ways. Your help is coming. I hope so, Dan, she sighed. I really hope so. The next day was the day everything changed. It was the day of the quarterly board meeting. The biggest investors and shareholders were coming to the office. Mr. Richard was frantic. He wanted everything perfect to hide his crimes. Clean everything. Richard shouted, running through the corridors. I want this place to shine. If I see one speck of dust, you are all fired. Daniel was assigned to clean the conference room where the meeting would be held. He took his time, polishing the long mahogany table where his father used to sit. As he cleaned, he planted a small, high-tech recording device under the main chair. It was time to get the evidence. Just as he finished, Richard walked in with his girlfriend, the fake HR head, Cynthia. Baby, are you sure the files are hidden? Cynthia asked, looking nervous. Relax, Richard laughed, pouring himself a glass of whiskey. Those old fools on the board don't know anything. I cooked the books. On paper, we are making profit. In reality, that money is in our private account in Dubai. By the time they realize, we will be on a yacht in the Maldives. Daniel, standing in the corner with his mop, heard every word. He kept his head down, his heart pounding. Wait, Cynthia said, pointing at Daniel. Is that cleaner listening to us? Richard turned around. His eyes narrowed. Yo, what are you doing here? I was just finishing the cleaning, sir, Daniel stammered, playing the part of the terrified servant. Richard walked up to him and grabbed him by the collar of his uniform. You were listening, weren't you? You rat. No, sir. I swear. You are a spy, Richard shouted. Paranoid and drunk on power, he dragged Daniel toward the door. I knew there was something off about you. You look at me with arrogant eyes. He shoved Daniel into the hallway. The commotion attracted attention. Staff members gathered around. Amara came running from her desk. "What is going on?" Amara cried. "This rat is a spy," Richard announced. "And you know what? I think he is a thief too." Richard grabbed a sleek, gold iPhone from his own pocket and quickly shoved it into Daniel's cleaning bucket while Daniel was trying to regain his balance. "My phone," Richard yelled theatrically. "Where is my gold iPhone? I just had it." He pointed at Daniel's bucket. "Search him." The security guards hesitated. Pa Musa looked at Daniel with sad eyes. "I said search the bucket," Richard screamed. One of the guards reached into the soapy water and pulled out the gold iPhone. The crowd gasped. "Thief!" Richard shouted, slapping Daniel across the face. The sound echoed through the hall. Daniel didn't flinch. He tasted blood in his mouth. He looked at Richard, his eyes burning with a strange intensity. "I did not steal your phone," Daniel said, his voice calm, terrifyingly calm. "You are a liar and a thief," Richard yelled. "Call the police. I want him arrested. And after that, I want him beaten until he forgets his name." "No." Amara pushed through the crowd. She stood in front of Daniel, shielding him with her small body. "Mr. Richard, this is a lie," Amara said, her voice shaking but loud. "I saw you. I was standing by the door. You put the phone in the bucket. Dan is innocent." The hallway went silent. You could hear a pin drop. No one had ever spoken to Richard like that. Richard's face turned purple. "What did you say?" "I said you are lying," Amara cried, tears streaming down her face. "You frame him because you are wicked. You treat us like slaves. You steal from this company and you blame the poor. We are tired, sir. We are tired." Richard began to laugh. It was a manic, crazy laugh. "Oh, the little receptionist has a voice. Good. Very good." He looked at the security guards. "Throw her out too. She is fired. In fact, fire everyone who is looking at me right now. I will replace all of you by tomorrow." He turned to Amara. "And you? I will make sure you never get a job in Lagos again. As for your sick mother, I hope she dies in that miserable hospital because you won't have a kobo to save her." That broke Amara. She collapsed to her knees, wailing. Daniel placed a hand on Amara's shoulder. "Get up, Amara," he said gently. "Dan, we are finished," she sobbed. "No," Daniel said. He stood up straight. He wiped the blood from his lip. He took off the oversized, dirty cap he was wearing. He straightened his spine. Suddenly, he didn't look like a cleaner anymore. He looked like a king. "Mr. Richard," Daniel said, his voice deep and commanding, "you are right about one thing. Someone is leaving this building today. But it is not me." Richard sneered. "And who do you think you are to speak to me? A gutter rat?" Just then, the glass doors of the entrance opened. A fleet of cars had arrived. The board of directors walked in, led by Barrister Jacobs, the family lawyer and the most feared legal mind in the city. Richard's face lit up. "Ah, Barrister Jacobs. Perfect timing. Please call the police. I caught this cleaner stealing my phone." Barrister Jacobs ignored Richard. He walked straight past him. He walked straight to the dirty, ragged cleaner standing in the middle of the hallway. The barrister bowed low. "Good morning, sir. We have been waiting for you." The entire room gasped. Richard looked confused. "Barrister? Why are you bowing to the cleaner? Have you gone mad?" Barrister Jacobs turned slowly to Richard. "Cleaner? Mr. Richard, let me introduce you to the chairman and CEO of Kalu Group of Companies, the only son of late Chief Kalu, Mr. Daniel Kalu." Richard's eyes bulged out of his head. He looked at Daniel. He looked at the ragged clothes. He looked at the face. The resemblance to the late chief was undeniable now that Daniel held his head high. Impossible," Richard stammered. "Daniel is in London. You are Dan the cleaner." Daniel stepped forward. "I am Dan. And I am Daniel. And for the past 2 weeks, Mr. Richard, I have watched you." Daniel pulled a small voice recorder from his pocket and pressed play. Richard's voice boomed through the silent hallway. "I cooked the books. Money is in our private account. We will be on a yacht." Cynthia, the fake HR girlfriend, screamed and tried to run toward the exit, but security guards blocked her path. Richard fell to his knees. Sir, it was a joke. It was just office talk. Please, Chief, I served your father. I am like your uncle." "My father," Daniel said coldly, "built this company on integrity. You destroyed it with greed. You mocked the poor. You stole from the sick. You insulted the dignity of labor." Daniel turned to the police officers who had just arrived, not to arrest the cleaner, but called by Barrister Jacobs to arrest the fraudster. "Officer, Daniel said. Take him away. Embezzlement, fraud, and assault. As Richard was dragged away, kicking and screaming, begging for mercy, the staff broke into cheers. They clapped, they danced, they hugged each other. The tyrant was gone. But Daniel wasn't done. He turned to the crowd and silenced them with a raised hand. He looked down at Amara, who was still kneeling, frozen in shock. He offered her his hand. Amara, stand up. She looked at his hand, the same hand that held the mop an hour ago, now the hand of a billionaire. She took it and stood up, trembling. Sir. I called you Dan. I made you eat jollof rice on the curb. Daniel smiled, a genuine warm smile. And that was the best meal I have had in years. Amara, when everyone watched me suffer, you helped. When I was accused, you defended me. You risked your job, your future, and your mother's life for a nobody. Daniel turned to the staff. Listen to me. From today, things change. All salaries are increased by 50% immediately. The staff roared with joy. And Mr. Okeke, the old accountant, will be recalled with an apology. He turned back to Amara. And for you, Amara, you are no longer a receptionist. Amara held her breath. Barrister Jacobs, Daniel said. Write a check for 5 million naira. Take Amara's mother to the best specialist hospital in the city immediately. All bills on me. Amara screamed and fell at his feet, hugging his legs. Thank you, sir. Thank you. God bless you. Stand up, Daniel laughed, pulling her up. And one more thing. I need a personal assistant. Someone I can trust. Someone who has a heart of gold. Will you take the job? Amara nodded, tears flowing freely. Yes, sir. Yes. 6 months later, the Kalu Tower was transformed. It was no longer a place of fear, but a place of joy. The business was booming because the workers were happy. In the CEO's office, Daniel sat behind the big mahogany table. He looked sharp in a navy blue suit. The door opened and Amara walked in holding a tablet. She looked stunning in a professional dress, confident and happy. Her mother had fully recovered and was now living with her in a nice apartment paid for by the company. Sir, the meeting with the investors is in 5 minutes, Amara said professionally. Thank you, Amara, Daniel said. He paused. And Amara? Yes, sir. Stop calling me sir when we are alone. We are friends, remember? Amara smiled. Okay, Dan. Daniel stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city of Lagos. He remembered the old slippers, the dirty bucket, and the insults. He remembered the pain of being a nobody. He turned to the camera. Never look down on anyone because of their current situation. The cleaner you mistreat today could be the person you need to save you tomorrow. Mr. Richard thought he was a god because he had a position, but he forgot that positions are temporary but character is permanent. Pride goes before a fall. Kindness is a seed. When you plant it, even in the driest season, it will grow into a forest of blessings. Be kind to the gateman, be kind to the cleaner, be kind to the stranger. Because you never know who is really watching.